Dictators around the world are joining forces like never before. This isn't just diplomacy, it's a coordinated assault on Western values. Their endgame? A new world order where freedom is crushed and authoritarian control reigns supreme. Russia and China are leading the charge. Make no mistake about their intentions. They believe our way of life, allowing people to speak their minds freely and choose their own leaders, leads to chaos and instability. They're working to spread their system of strict control across the globe. They're conducting joint military exercises that showcase their increasing collaboration. In 2022 and 2023, they held naval drills in the East China Sea and the Sea of Japan, practicing air defense, anti-submarine warfare, and joint maneuvering. The world's most oppressive dictatorship has joined them. In 2023, North Korea and Russia conducted joint missile tests near the Sea of Japan, including ballistic and cruise missiles capable of striking the United States. These aren't just war games. They're rehearsals for a war against the West. Each missile fired is a warning. The forces of tyranny are preparing for a future which they intend to control. Authoritarian leaders are meeting regularly to align foreign policies. In 2022, just before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Putin and Xi announced a no-limits partnership. They pledged to support each other's core interests and oppose Western influence. This partnership extends to the diplomatic arena. In the UN Security Council, China and Russia often vote together to block Western initiatives, with sometimes horrific consequences. Imagine being a parent watching helplessly as your child gasped for air from a poison gas attack. This nightmare became reality for hundreds of Syrian families as President Bashar Assad unleashed chemical weapons on his own people, not once, but multiple times. And yet Assad remains in power. Russia and China have blocked 12 resolutions on Syria since 2011 to protect his brutal regime. They've also blocked resolutions to address the humanitarian crisis under Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, who just stole another election. They blocked a resolution to condemn the ruthless military junta in Myanmar, which overthrew a democratically elected government in 2021. Over 6,000 civilians have died since the civil war in Myanmar began, and over 3 million have been forced to leave their home. Iran is another key player in this authoritarian alliance. It funds proxy groups across the Middle East. In 2023, Iran increased its financial support to Hezbollah to over $800 million annually. It has expanded its military assistance to proxy groups in Yemen and Iraq. This support includes money, weapons, and training. Hezbollah has used this backing to fight for Assad in Syria's civil war. More recently, Hezbollah rockets were responsible for killing 12 innocent Israeli Druze children playing in a soccer field. Now, imagine living in a world where your every move is monitored, your every word scrutinized, and your life is governed by a social credit score that determines your access to basic services. This is the daily reality of Chinese citizens today. And China's leaders have been exporting tools of oppression to expand this dystopian vision. In 2018, China hosted officials from 36 countries for a seminar on censorship techniques. They shared methods for blocking websites, filtering content, and tracking online activity. China has helped Ecuador, Zimbabwe, and Bolivia install nationwide surveillance systems, with awful consequences. In Ecuador, data gathered using Chinese technology was used to persecute and torture journalists investigating corruption. It shows other authoritarian regimes how to control information. It helped Uganda implement a cyber surveillance system to monitor social media and track government critics. In Venezuela, Chinese technicians helped create fatherland cards, ID cards that can track citizens' behavior and access to social services. These dictatorships are promoting a set of values that contrast sharply with Western ideals. They advocate for a system called authoritarian capitalism, which promises economic growth without political freedom. China points to its rapid development as proof that democracy is not needed for prosperity. But China's recent struggles prove otherwise, as their growth has slowed dramatically since Xi Jinping became more authoritarian. Underlying these policies is a fundamental difference in worldview. China and Russia value social cohesion and conformity above individual liberty. They have a more cynical view of human nature, believing people need tight control and management. In contrast, Western democracies trust their citizens' ability to make decisions and believe in their fundamental goodness. China and Western democracies see the world very differently. China believes countries should not interfere in each other's affairs. This clashes with Western ideals about protecting human rights everywhere. Vladimir Putin believes Russia's traditional values are threatened by the West. To be gay in Russia means living in constant fear, knowing that a simple act of holding hands with a loved one in public could lead to imprisonment under the country's harsh gay propaganda laws. Women's cries for help often fall on deaf ears, with domestic violence largely decriminalized and dismissed as family matters. China and Russia push for internet sovereignty, a fancy term for online censorship and surveillance. They're teaching other countries how to control what their citizens see and say online. China has trained officials from thousands of political parties in developing countries on how to maintain social stability, code for crushing dissent. China's Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, is a key tool for exporting its authoritarian model. In Sri Lanka, the BRI funded the Hambantota Port project, leading to significant debt. Unable to repay, Sri Lanka was forced to lease the port to China for 99 years. This strategic choke point is now under Chinese control, altering the balance of power in the region. Thousands of local families faced economic devastation as they lost access to their primary source of income. The same process is now underway in southern Pakistan. These dictators are also forming formal alliances. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or SCO, includes China, Russia, India, and several other Central Asian states. In 2023, Iran joined, strengthening this authoritarian coalition. The SCO conducts joint military exercises and aims to counter Western influence. These countries are working to reduce the power of the US dollar as well. China and Russia have increased trade in their own currencies. In 2023, only 30% of trade between the two countries was conducted in dollars, down from 90% in 2015. Another dictatorship, Saudi Arabia, is considering pricing its oil in yuan, which would hurt the dollar's global dominance. China, of course, has no opinion on Saudi Arabia's abysmal human rights record. Propaganda is another key tool for these regimes. Russia's internet research agency, known as the Troll Factory, employs hundreds of people to spread disinformation online. China aggressively promotes its views on social media. Chinese diplomats and state media outlets have millions of followers on Twitter and Facebook, platforms banned within China itself. It censors TikTok to only portray China in a positive light. In the Philippines, China has funded pro-Beijing media outlets. These outlets promote China's territorial claims in the South China Sea. This disinformation campaign aims to shift public opinion in favor of China's policies at the expense of Filipino citizens. China and Russia are also becoming bolder in silencing dissent abroad. Russian agents poisoned former spy Sergei Skripal in the UK in 2018 and opposition leader Alexei Navalny in 2020. These are just two of many attempted global assassinations. China has abducted booksellers in Hong Kong and Thailand who publish works critical of the Chinese Communist Party. China's reach extends beyond its borders through Operation Foxhunt, a global campaign to abduct dissidents who have escaped China. Through it, China has pressured countries to deport thousands of Uyghur refugees, threatening anyone who speaks out against China's genocidal internment program in Xinjiang. These regimes are not just consolidating power at home. They're actively working to reshape the world in their image. They offer stability and economic growth at the expense of individual freedom. But a society that is not free will never truly flourish. This challenge to democracy is unprecedented in its scale and coordination. The rise of the Dictator Alliance is a wake-up call to democracies across the globe to unite and defend our freedom. In our next video, we'll explore what democracies are doing and should be doing to counter this existential threat.